Welcome to Finest Work Songs. My name is Matt.
My name is also Matt.
Thank you. We've been Matt.
You've been great.
I don't know about you, Matt, but I had a great weekend because all weekend I got to listen to this.
Really excited to talk about this album. It's Kick by INXS, which is, honestly, it's an album I haven't really gone back to and thought about in a long, long time. And as I listened to it over the last several days, all I could keep coming back to is, why not? Like, this is such a great album full of huge hits. And you know, maybe that's why. I mean, it was everywhere in 88, 87. I mean, maybe there was a little bit of INXS fatigue at some point, but this is such an incredible album.
Back in late middle school, I would have been talking about R.E.M, U2, the Connells, INXS, all in the same breath. For some reason, they don't really hold up, but listening back to it, I still love it, so I'm not sure why.
Part of it is longevity, and you know, with Michael Hutchence dying, they haven't been on the radar in 20 years, really. I know they did like a TV show where it was like find the new singer of INXS.
Oh yeah,
at one point.
Yeah,
I don't think that really did much for them, but they just haven't been, you know, on the pop radar in so long. But you're right, you know, 12-year-old me would have counted INXS right up there with U2 and R.E.M.
Or as I thought they were when I was 9, INXS. Because I saw on my older sister's notebook that she had written INXS. And I'm like, oh, INXS. For years, I thought it was INXS. I went to the concert, was like, INXS. Well, something about them didn't really make it past the 80s.
Right.
Whereas U2, as we'll discuss at some point, completely changed their look and sound to move into West Berlin.
Right.
And become Achtung Baby era U2. R.E.M continued to evolve because they're the best. Yeah, but INXS, it felt like they stayed in that era. I did listen to them into the 90s. I mean, with X, Welcome to Wherever You Are. I've actually listened to Welcome to Wherever You Are over the years more than I've listened to Kick.
Yeah, and I remember getting Ink's greatest hits, if you will, several years ago, and I probably bought it for some of the early INXS songs, Kick and before that. But then as I listened to those later songs, they're tremendous songs that really held up, and so you could tell that they were starting to kind of reinvent their sound a little bit. Before Michael Hutchence died. As we listen to Kick, it's extremely well produced. It has that really polished, clean sheen of an 80s album, which is one of the things that makes it such a great album. But you're right. I mean, their sound, their ability to continue into the 90s and beyond just never seemed to catch hold.
I've shared with you that my band did the Great Cover Up, which is a tradition here in Raleigh where local bands you'll keep it a secret and then you'll come up with a band to cover. Our band had 6 people in it, so we were always a little bit stretched to see who we could cover. But the year that we did INXS, I had to find an electric drum kit.
Right.
Even just to get the sound of INXS, you had to go back and find 80s, very dated sound. All right, as always, let's begin with our first memories of INXS. Yeah, where we were, what our memories are of this. This would have been young Matt and Matt. So, Matt, why don't you start us off? What is your memory of this album?
I don't remember the first time I heard it, or heard any of the songs. The hits on this album were so big. But what I remember was the album cover. One of the guys from INXS, flying through the air on a Vision Psycho Stick skateboard, which I had so many friends who had that exact skateboard. This would have been prime Matt skateboarding period. To me, it was almost like validation of like skateboarding being an accepted mainstream thing. This huge popular band from Australia with all these top 10 hits. My buddy has that same skateboard. This is big. We're not, terrible people for skateboarding.
We are international.
Right. Although we were probably terrible people for some of the skateboarding things we were doing. Looking back, I was thinking through some of the previous INXS albums. One thing that jumps out at me now is how much of the album cover Michael Hutchence takes up. Whereas the previous ones, it's either like full band photo or no band photo. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like this was his coming out party as the lead singer of INXS.
Yeah, he's featured as the lead singer, and then they have their hot drummer squatting down in the background, but they definitely were like, hey, let's pick the attractive people and put them on the cover.
Right.
Which is funny because when you fold out the cover, the other guys are on the inside like, hey, we're here too.
Hey, we're back here too. Don't forget us.
That's the band though. They realized like he was almost like supermodel status, mm-hmm. and you can't really talk about the band without him being featured as a frontman,
right? Which
he wasn't just a pretty face. He was an incredible frontman.
He also had a nice butt.
He really did. What he did for the leather pants industry is still remembered today.
Well, how about you? Where were you when INXS Kick came out?
Most people think being the youngest means you just get whatever you want and your parents are worn out. That wasn't the case in my family. In fact, my older brothers and my mom were pretty cruel to me. Instead of preferential treatment, they tied me to a chair and locked me down in this like kind of dungeon. I don't know what I'd done, but I
shouldn't laugh at that. I'm sorry.
My brothers were not kind, but my mama was was equally unkind. I lived down there, and I would yell. They would occasionally bring me some food, but never gave me the love and attention that my heart so desired. Mm. One day, a little boy made his way into there, in my dungeon room. He was very scared, but he came around, and we actually became really good friends. He introduced me to what is now my favorite candy bar. Mm. It's Baby Ruth. And he helped me escape. I went with my new friend. We found out that his friends were in trouble. They were being chased by my mean family, and I was worried that they were going to be locked up as I was locked up. And so we went into this cove where there was an ancient pirate ship. My friend and I dressed up as pirates. Man, that was fun. I saw my new friends, and I said, hey, you guys. I got to swing on this big rope and come in and save the day. And it felt really good to have this new group of friends. They arrested my mean family. They were also criminals. And all the boys were going back to their homes. And I don't know what was going to become of me. But my new friend Lawrence said to me, they will never tear us apart. and so I got to live with the Cohen family. They became my step family. And it was there that I first heard of the band INXS.
Wow. That story, it's a treasure trove of memories.
Just as you wait for the story, I wait for the dumb line that you come up with at the end. Baby Ruth? I don't know why this album doesn't hold up. I mean...
Take your hands and raise them up into the air. That's all around you. Now bring them down like a clock at 2. Shake your head. You know what to do. They wanna put guns in the sky. Someone out there ain't gonna like it. the sky. Guns in the sky. Guns in the sky. Guns in the sky.
So with Guns in the Sky, that's INXS doing social commentary,
Right.
on like military might and war and all that stuff in a very 80s white rap kind of way.
In a very literal way, too.
Yeah.
I could see Michael Hutchence sitting there, of course, without a shirt on, wearing a vest, and he's watching TV. He's like, man, it's like they want to put guns in the sky. Open up the studio. I just thought of something.
Well, and you know, I never realized until researching this album that another one of my favorite Australian bands, Midnight Oil, is who gave them the name INXS.
Really?
Which is really crazy, in my opinion. You know, few bands do social political commentary better than Midnight Oil, and maybe INXS was like, hey, Midnight Oil gave us our name, so they're giving us carte blanche to also do social commentary.
Right. Man, I cannot imagine the eye rolling that took place by Peter Garrett when he read Guns in the Sky. Are you kidding me? Guys, of the Australian bands, let us do the social commentary, please. And also, then he tells people very slowly and methodically what to do with their hands.
Yep.
It's like he went to a hip hop concert and heard them wave your hands in the air like you just don't care. And he's like, I want that effect at our concerts. Now, take your hands and raise them up into the air, just to be clear. That's all around you. And now you're going to bring them down like a clock at 2. So just imagine.
Not
guys,
3, not 1.
Right.
2.
Can show me your clock. Show me the clock at 2. Show me your clock. And now, shake your head. You guys know what to do. You're doing great. Here we go. Here's some political social commentary.
Could you imagine that? Like, they probably tried to choreograph like a dance.
Oh,
to
man.
that too.
You know they did. 80s was full of that. And they had a sax player in their band. They were definitely... What is a clock at 2? Like, what would you do with your hands to be a clock at 2? It's Australia. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's right. So it's really
So it's
7.
Probably opposite, yeah. Well, as much as we make fun of Guns in the Sky, this next song is undeniably amazing.
Dream, baby, dream of all that's coming and going, and you will find out in the end there really is no difference. Cry, baby, cry when you got to get it out. I'll be your shoulder. You can tell me all. Don't keep it in you. Well, that's the reason why I'm here. Hey, are you ready for a new sensation? Right now. Gonna take you on a sensation.
The video was in the ballroom, and I just remember because the camera comes in to them, and they're all on this balcony, and at the last minute, right before he starts singing, Michael Hutchence spins around and starts singing and dancing.
Listen to New Sensation, what,
32 years later?
32 years later? It still holds up so well. And it's one of those iconic songs that you start playing and that guitar part comes in and people immediately recognize.
Yeah, it's a very 80s song, but I don't think it's ever come on that I've rolled my eyes and thought, oh, the 80s.
Right.
You know, this comes on, and I'm like, turn it up, man. This is Freedom Rock.
And it has a saxophone in it.
It does.
And now even holds up.
You know what? That's the reason. Well, first of all, saxophones don't hold up, in my opinion. But that's the reason that they didn't make it past the 80s.
Leroy Moore is going to come in this room and
Haunt us as a ghost. Hum the Pink Panther because he never could play it. That's the reason they never made it past the 80s, was because of the saxophone.
they're intent on keeping saxophone.
Yeah.
Could be.
Never Tear Us Apart. It was written for the saxophone player about how the 80s may come and go, but they're never going to let him go as a sax player. Bands with horns didn't make it past the 80s unless you're Bruce Springsteen, and you know you're going to ride or die on that sax.
That's right.
Too soon because Clarence, R.I.P.
Yeah. One of the things that jumped out at me with so many songs on this album, particularly the hits, INXS had this knack of throwing these little fills here and there in their songs. That made them less, formulaic pop songs, made them a little more interesting. And I think it's about 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. There's just a little drum part that just adds so much to it.
He's an incredible drummer. It's a songwriting and production credit to them that it's very clean. Mm-hmm. Not just the production, but they're not stepping on each other's toes. And with all of those instruments, it comes across very well produced and very clean.
Yeah, it's not crowded at all.
Does he have a nervous tick?
He has Tourette's.
Yeah, before every song. It's like,
he's like the old 7-Up commercial guy.
What is that? What is that commercial? Is that like a Count Dracula thing?
Sort of.
Here come the woman with a look in her eye.
He's so literal in his lyrics. Like, say what you see.
Here comes a guy driving his car.
Words, weapons, sharpened knives, makes you wonder how the other half died. Other half died. Makes you wonder. But here come the man with a look in his eye. It's fair on nothing, but full of pride. Look at him go, look at him kick. Makes you wonder how the other half live. Every single one of us, the devil inside, devil inside, devil inside. Every single one of us, the devil inside.
Do you remember the video for this?
Somewhat. It was like footage from like Santa Monica or somewhere like that, like a California beach scene. And didn't Michael Hutchence at one point turn around and his eyes were red, or am I getting that confused with Thriller?
Michael Hutchence had the devil mask on.
That's what it was.
And then turned around, and it was on the back of his head. So
that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm getting my 80s devil videos confused.
Right. But you can't talk about the 80s bands without referencing videos.
Right.
It was so key to who they were. Mm-hmm. And it's so tied up into our understanding of these songs. Mm-hmm. Man, there's a lot of grinding going on in this one.
At any point, did a girl walk by and like three guys in the band pull their sunglasses down?
Is that Hot for Teacher?
I think so.
The video, that sort of California nighttime feel, it's like Lost Boys, mm-hmm. which actually the director, Joel Schumacher, directed that Devil Inside video. It was kind of a trade. I'll direct this video if I can put some of your songs on the soundtrack. Because
the Lost Boys.
Yeah, Lost Boys soundtrack, because he didn't have the money to get the songs on the soundtrack, and so it was kind of a deal he made. But I wonder if they realized that by him directing that video, it's basically like, I'm going to do what I do for the Lost Boys.
Yeah, but in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, and it will promote my movie.
Right.
And actually, Devil Inside was bigger on the charts than New Sensation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. New Sensation got to number 3, and Devil Inside got to number 2. Wow. And that was a huge hit. The only thing that kept it from number 1 is Get Out of My Dreams and Get Into My Car by Billy Ocean.
Well, I mean, you can't get past Billy O like that.
No, and Whitney Houston was number 2. Hope you're content at number 3 because you're not going any higher than that.
Nope.
Over Billy Ocean's dead body. The funny thing about this video is that aside from Michael Hutchence, mm-hmm. they don't look like they're comfortable in this sort of party scene.
Right.
Michael Hutchence looks like he's the belle of the ball, but the other guys in the band just look kind of like uncomfortable musicians.
Well, they're probably waiting for like the vampires to come get them.
That's it. They're nervous.
They're nervous.
Golly, this Joel guy put us in the movie. My mom wouldn't even let me see the movie. And that's part of who they are, is that they are very much living the rock star life, and they were huge, but at the same time, aside from Michael Hutchence, mm-hmm. who just looks like this male model. The rest of them just look like a couple of good dudes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Huey Lewis in the News.
Right.
You know, they could have swapped members out and nobody would have noticed.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, 3 brothers in the band and
Yeah.
some other dudes, and I couldn't point out which one was which,
No.
other than Michael Hutchence.
Right.
I'm sure that's difficult at times, but there's probably a little bit something to be said for having some anonymity when you're still one of the biggest bands in the world. I mean, some of those guys could probably still go out and get a cup of coffee and not be hounded by fans.
Yeah. Well, in the U.S.
Yeah. Right.
In
right.
Australia, I'm sure they were beloved. But also, I'm sure that once they ordered a cup of coffee or something, you're in L.A. and you hear an Australian, are you in INXS?
When they place their coffee orders, like when they ask for their names, they say, "Oh yeah, John Ferris, INXS."
Right.
Come over here.
Come over here.
Yeah, who's he talking to? He saw someone in the hall. Hey, come over here. Michael, we're rolling right now. Sorry. I'm sorry about that.
All you've got is this moment. 21st century's yesterday. You can care all you want. Everybody does, yeah, that's okay. So slide over here and give me a moment. Your moves are so raw. I've got to let you know. I've got to let you know. You're one of my kind. I need you tonight. 'Cause I'm not sleeping. There's something about you, girl, that makes me sweat. I'm lonely. What do you think? Can't think at all. What you gonna do? Gonna live my life. So slide over here and give me a moment. Your moves are so raw. I've got to let you know. I've got to let you know. You are my kind.
So again, the video, because it's the 80s.
Right.
This is the one that had the different clips of the band coming in and out. But for a good portion of the song, the band is in black and white and Michael Hutchence is in color.
It's pretty clear, like who they're hitching their wagon to at this point.
Oh, exactly. And in other days, this could have been, Michael Hutchence as a singer. If the marketing team had their way, they would be named Michael Hutchence.
Yep.
And at one point in the video, Michael Hutchence is at the forefront singing. Then he's in the background on a chair singing. And then way behind the two Michael Hutchences is the band. They're all wearing white shirts and they are singing the background and kind of hamming it up. So they're even portraying them to be just like, hey, you Aussie dudes, give them a few Fosters and get out there and do your thing. But there's two Michael Hutchence in the forefront, and there's the full band is tiny in the background.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'd be curious to know like what the dynamic was like in the band at this point. If again they're like, you know what, we're good with that, because they did sort of relinquish most of the songwriting control over to Hutchence and one of the Ferris brothers, and I think that was kind of a top-down decision of the record company, and a couple others said, let's try this, and from all accounts the band seemed good with doing that.
Up to this point, their album Listen Like Thieves was really big, and they got a big single in the US with What You Need,
which I always think is on this album. I
It
always
sounds like
forget that it's not on Kick.
Well, it sounds very much like Need You Tonight, or it has a similar feel to it. It said that at the end of 1986, the band gathered at the Sydney Opera House to rehearse the songs. It just seems like such a stereotype,
Right.
The Beatles gathered at Buckingham Palace to rehearse. It's like the one iconic place in Australia, aside from that big rock in the middle of nowhere, that, what's it called? Uluru?
Yeah.
No, what's
Well, it has a different name.
that or Ayers Rock.
Right.
The actual name being Uluru. Also, that rock. Have you ever been to Australia?
No.
That rock is literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it takes days to get there. And once you get there, there's nothing. It's just the rock.
Dwayne Johnson is just in the middle of Australia?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just lifting weights and making movies. And lifting one eyebrow. And it's so charming. Everybody gets off the bus and, oh, the rock.
Yeah, the rock.
You can do no wrong.
Oh, man. I love you, Dwayne.
Who doesn't love Dwayne Johnson?
What would be the American equivalent of that?
Of Dwayne Johnson?
No. Of recording at the Sydney Opera House. Like the Eagles
Oh,
recording at the Statue of Liberty.
Creedence Clearwater Revival gathered at Mount Rushmore to rehearse the songs for the upcoming album.
Up in Canada, Rush gets together on a moose farm. I don't know.
Yeah, see? Canada. What do you got?
Do you remember the extended video to Need You Tonight?
Yeah.
With Mediate going into it?
If you're not familiar, here is Mediate. I'm going to back up a little bit to Need You Tonight. And it continues playing at the end.
I've got to let you know, you're one of my kind.
And goes right into Mediate.
Hallucinate to segregate, mediate, alleviate, try not to hate, love your mate, don't suffocate on your
Michael Hutchence is like, y'all, give me some space. Back up. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Raise your hands at 2 o'clock.
Real quick. Kirk Pingley, what rhymes with 8? Lots of things, Michael.
Including the number 8.
He starts. He's like, I'm going to lay down some tracks. Here we go. An orange is orange and...
Crikey. I remember the Mediate video was like, the times that I would catch it, it was like such a, almost a rarity because, it, I mean, clearly the song has some cheese to it for sure. The video to it was a almost shot-for-shot homage to Bob Dylan's video for Subterranean Homesick Blues. Which, did they have videos? I guess he did a video.
He did a video, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's you got the band members holding up cue cards essentially with these words on it and flipping them one by one, with some purposely misspelled words here or there, sort of like Dylan did it. But again, it was almost like you've got this 80s excess sex song, Need You Tonight, and then you go into some really deep social commentary with Mediate.
Yeah.
And some really good rhyming.
Bob Dylan. He's Bob Dylan, so each word in his song is going to be referencing something meaningful and political and deep, and and these guys are just like, what rhymes with 8?
The thing we ate.
Yeah.
The number 8.
88. It's not what? It's not the same. 88 and 8 are not the same.
This is great.
Also, that video, if you remember, that they look freezing, they look uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They're like on this construction site. I'm pretty sure they didn't get permission because at the end of it, there's a truck rolling onto the site. It was clever how they did hold up the card though that said sax solo.
Kind of walked away, then he walks in, playing the sax.
Unfortunately, it was a sax solo. If you haven't caught on, I'm not a huge fan of the saxophone.
I will say though, I mean, here we are, you kind of riffing on Mediate and the lyrics and all that. But if I'm being completely honest, that is exactly how I rap.
Yeah, I could pretend that it would be better, but it would be equally bad. All right, one of the things about this album is that the hits are incredible. The album tracks, not as strong. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to skip 2 and get to the next huge song of theirs.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing, you were there. Two worlds collided. We could live for 1,000 years, but if I hurt you, I make wine from your tears. I told you that we could fly, 'cause we all have wings, but some of us don't know why. I was standing, you were there, two worlds collided, and they could never, ever tear us apart.
That was one of those songs that would get played at like your 6th, 7th, 8th grade dances.
Oh yeah, gosh,
Killing it.
yeah, that song, man.
Not me. I mean, just other people were killing it to that song.
Yeah, we would go to dances at the local rec center
Yes.
that they had, and this song, that was the only time you could get my friend Duggan on the dance floor. We weren't comfortable in our skin to go out there and like actually dance.
Yep.
But if they played a slow song, then oh yeah, I'm gonna ask a girl to dance.
If it wasn't, every rose has its thorn, it was Never Tear Us Apart.
Yeah, inevitably they would play Stairway to Heaven,
Really?
which in the beginning we would slow dance to, but then you're stuck because it gets fast and you don't know what to do. I remember a few times that I'd be like slow dancing at this rec center dance and they would play that song, and when it got fast I would just start slow dancing fast. So,
That's awesome.
hands on her waist, her hands on my shoulders, but we would just start moving faster to the beat, which it really starts to move.
It does move. Aren't you glad that there weren't iPhones?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because, that would have been bad. I feel like this song doesn't even today get the play or the recognition it should. It seems like one of those songs that you would still hear at wedding receptions and things like that, and definitely still holds up really, really well.
It's the saxophone, man. It's the sax. It dates it.
Yeah, you might be on to something there.
Let's talk about the band a little bit. We've talked about Michael Hutchence, but he's not alone. This is a full band.
There's that one dude on sax. There's the guitar guy.
Yeah.
There's the drummer dude.
We talked about the National last time, and they had 2 sets of brothers. If we were playing cards, does 3 of a kind beat
so.
2 pair? And they have 3 brothers, the Ferris brothers, which initially when they first started, they formed a band named the Ferris Brothers
Ooh.
in 1977. Actually, the first band was Andrew Ferris formed a band with Gary Beers. That might be the most Australian name ever, because his last name is Beers, not even beer. It's multiple. And his name is Gary. The first Gary has 1 R, and the second has 2. I think he got a nickname, the double name, and they actually put that in their debut album. And they've got some really good band names, though, in their history, because Gary Beers, his first band was called Legolas Elven Warrior.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some Tolkien.
Yeah, that's some
deep
Tolkien
dive there.
nerdery right there. And then they formed a band called Dr. Dolphin.
Dr. Dolphin and the Porpoises.
Yeah, which Dr. Dolphin sounds like an Australian reality. Just get that dolphin over there. You're a doctor, aren't you?
I like that your Australian accent sounds like also sounds like a 1950s male lounge singer.
Oh, yeah. My accents are terrible. I cannot do any sort of accent. Yeah, apparently in Australia, they all speak like they're from a 1920s speakeasy.
Dr. Dolphin.
But then they formed the Ferris Brothers until finally they were INXS.
Yeah, and I think at some point in their life, they went by the name The Vegetables, which, as we found out on the Thriller episode, is a real mean insult.
Yeah, back then, that was probably pretty controversial, because Michael Jackson was throwing shade around by calling people vegetables. This album almost was shut down by the record company. The manager went in there and played it for the record company executive, who reportedly said, "I'll give you $1 million to go and record another album. This is not happening."
That's insane.
Yeah. What was that guy listening to?
The first 15 seconds of Guns in the Sky. It was like, really? Or maybe he had like a bad record and just kept skipping. It just kept playing the grunting at the beginning, like over and over.
But also, are all record executives stereotypes? They speak in such absolutes. There was no critical feedback. Here's what I have time for. I'll give you $1 million. This is not happening.
Right. There's never any like, all right, you've got a good start here.
Right.
I like where you're going with it.
No, it's throw it out.
You picture them like breaking the album like over their knee, like in the office, and then like kicking them out of the office like immediately.
And then like just snorting coke and hang gliding out the window. Like, he's got a Bluetooth. He's on a call. I thought I told you to destroy that, as he hang glides over like the bay. Oh my gosh, that record company executive. It's funny you don't know his name, because how did they miss such a huge, iconic album?
Right.
But the manager believed in it, so he went ahead and just started putting it out there and getting it on college radio, and then it started breaking in.
And thank God he did. We wouldn't have what we have today.
The other thing about the album, it's clearly featuring Michael Hutchence. For the 30th anniversary, they kept the skateboard, but they removed the other person from the album, so it's just Michael Hutchence, even bigger.
Really?
So it's the same design. They just removed the other person.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Sorry, dude.
Sorry,
Who's
guy.
still in the band.
Right.
And
Who's still alive.
Yeah. You're not on here anymore.
Wow. All right. So, Matt, Michael Hutchence is going to get on his skateboard and do a rail slide across your face if you don't remove one song from this album.
I would remove The Loved One.
Helpless baby, evil child. I've known you well. If you want to stay, that's alright. But you want me, you can. And then you come running to me. Baby, that's alright. Oh, that's alright.
When I was younger, I really liked it. But when I listened to this album again, there are other songs I dislike on this album, but this one seems out of place.
That one, The Loved One, to me, especially the first part of it, sounds to me like Rattle and Hum era U2 for some reason.
Yeah.
And which was of that time, but it doesn't necessarily fit the rest of the album.
Yeah, is that yours as well?
No, actually mine would be Guns in the Sky.
Oh, wow.
Although we would lose the glory that is the grunting of at the beginning from Michael Hutchence. I just look at it from the context of you start this album with New Sensation, and it just kicks the album off on a much higher note to me.
Okay. So INXS, darlings of the 80s, worldwide stars, maybe not so much hailed by critics, but they were the people's choice, made this incredible monster of an album that we loved. This was really fun to revisit. And if you are not familiar with it, if you want to take a trip back to the 80s, we highly recommend listening to Kick and just driving around and
your DeLorean.
And your DeLorean, yeah, and cranking up the speakers.
Yeah, this one's been a lot of fun to go back to. It's not one that I normally just keep in my listening repertoire, so it's been good to revisit this one.
Yeah.
Are you listening? Are you listening right now?
Thanks again to everyone for listening to this episode. And as always, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at finestworksongs. Shoot us an email, finestworksongs@gmail.com. Let us know your memories of these albums, and also let us know which albums you'd like for us to talk about in a future episode.
But in the meantime, like Bobby Brown, we hope you keep humping around. Our theme song is by the incredible band Medium Heat. This track is called Radio, and you should check them out at mediumheat.bandcamp.com. And check out any upcoming shows if you are in the Raleigh area. They are on Facebook at Medium Heat Music.